Hey guys, I'm Redeemed Zoomer, and today I am joined by Isaiah Long. He's a fellow PCUSA Presbyterian who also has a YouTube channel. You guys should all check it out. It's really cool. And we are both part of an organization called Presbyterians for the Kingdom, dedicated to reviving biblical faithfulness in our denomination, the PCUSA, because a lot of our denomination has gone theologically liberal, and we are trying to restore it. We're trying to restore our denomination. We're part of the broader Reconquista movement, but we are part of an official nonprofit called Presbyterians for the Kingdom. And today, Isaiah is here to make a very important announcement. So, what do you have to tell us?
Well, we have a new monthly newsletter called the Presbyterian Paladin.
Paladin or Paladin? How do you pronounce it?
You know,
It's okay.
doesn't matter really.
Raised Baptist. I don't expect you to be very good at pronouncing words and stuff. He became Presbyterian like 8 months ago. You just learned to read 8 months ago. So anyway, no, we love Baptists. We don't refrain from making jokes, but no, we love Baptists. Anyway, so we have a newsletter, and Isaiah is the editor. So it's called the Presbyterian Paladin. And what did you add to this newsletter? So it's for monthly updates, but tell us about some of the stuff you added.
Yeah, so my article this month is called "The Point of the Protestant Reformation," as you can probably see here, and I wrote it for a couple reasons. One was to correct some misunderstandings in our modern age about what the point of the Protestant Reformation was. So, growing up in a Baptist context, we're told that the point of the Protestant Reformation was just to rip ourselves away from Rome. There was nothing good worth saving there. We just had to start all over from scratch. That's not what the point of the Protestant Reformation was. It's not what the Protestant reformers themselves said. The point of the Protestant Reformation was not to start something new, but to go back to what the early church taught, to go back to the basics, to go back to what Scripture taught, and yeah, what the church fathers taught very early on. You see seeds of Protestantism there, but So the second reason was to point out a lot of these evangelical offshoots. They sort of see the Protestant Reformation that way as well. And I'm talking the evangelical splinter groups of mainly the Presbyterian Church, but in other evangelical offshoots, you see that this idea of the Protestant Reformation to be this starting something new, and so they see their work of splitting off from the mainline historic denominations as just a continuation of the Protestant Reformation. It's just what you do when your church, you don't like something that's going on in your church. Instead of reform it, you just run away from it. But the point I make here is that's not what the reformers were trying to do. Yes, they ended up leaving. When they left, they took the institutions with them. That's a very, very important fact. But that's not what the reformers were trying to do. What they were trying to do was to reform the existing Catholic Church, not create something new, because they saw the value in preserving the institution and saw, look, this is the institution that Christ founded, and we don't need to be trying to split off and start something new. We need to just reform it. Now, eventually they were kicked out, but the main thing I'm trying to get out here is the point was to reform and not retreat.
Correct. Now, there's a very big misconception. A lot of people think leaving modern liberal mainline Protestant churches is akin to Martin Luther leaving the Catholic Church. And nothing could be further from the truth. Martin Luther did not want to leave. The reformers did not want to leave. Martin Luther was kicked out, not just kicked out as in peer pressured out, not just kicked out as in suspended from ministry like J. Gresham Machen was, but he was actually forced out with threat of execution. He was excommunicated from the church. Then the church went on to excommunicate every single person who holds to the pure gospel of salvation by faith alone. So the Protestants ended up getting kicked out, but once they didn't just start a brand new institution from scratch. They worked with local rulers to actually forcibly retake existing institutions from the Catholic Church. So for them, separation from the institution was an absolute last resort. But even after that happened, they didn't just try to build new things from scratch. They retook the old things. So in some ways, the Reformation was a partial Reconquista because a big chunk of the existing institutions ended up siding with the reformers as opposed to the Pope. So it is completely different than what most modern people do, which is anytime a denomination starts to go a direction they don't like, they voluntarily split off and try to start from scratch until 10 years later, their descendants don't like something they're doing, so then they split off. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah, that's correct. And again, that was the point I was trying to make here, and in a certain way endorse Reconquista through that, because I mean, in a sense, that's exactly what the reformers were doing. Luther, Calvin, and Zwingli, all of them were just trying to reform, not retreat from the church.
Right. Now, Zwingli, I don't know. Luther, Calvin, they were not trying to retreat. So we have an upcoming event, just to keep you guys posted. Whenever we do have upcoming events, we'll put them on the newsletter. So in October, Theology Matters is having a conference that many of us are going to, not all of us, many of us. So lots of members of Presbyterians for the Kingdom are going to be there. And Theology Matters is one of these conservative, I don't even like the word conservative, it's too politically charged, it's meaningless these days. One of the biblical holdouts in the PCUSA, one of the organizations within the PCUSA that not only rejects the liberalism, but is actively working to retake the seminaries. And the seminaries is where all the liberalism starts. So Theology Matters is a very great organization of Bible-based PCUSA pastors and seminary professors. And if you want to become an ordained minister in the PCUSA, I highly recommend you check out Theology Matters. They can get you a great scholarship. They can get you on a very easy path to be ordained in the PCUSA as a Bible-believing Presbyterian.
Yeah, make sure if you can, like, come to Hilton Head Island for that. Make sure you do. I'm going to be there. You're going to be there, aren't you? I think David's going to be there as well. Yeah, it's going to be a great time. I definitely recommend y'all come to that.
Great. So now we didn't just have you writing, even though your writing was very, very good. We have an allied PCUSA pastor who is now writing for us, Reverend Gordon Tubbs. I believe he also was interviewed when Religion News Service did that article on Reconquista and the Presbyterians for the Kingdom. They interviewed him as well. So Reverend Gordon Tubbs, we did a video with him once. He's great. He is allied with our organization. And what did he write for the magazine?
Well, the title pretty much says it all. Don't give up the ship. The whole point of the article was to endorse Reconquista. Just look. This institution, like he says there, if you see it right there, a quote from him. He's a pastor of a small rural church in South Carolina that was founded in 1768. Okay,
Wow.
that's before the Declaration of Independence is signed. You know, all this stuff. So I mean that's incredible. And the point is here, look, this institution's been here for so long. There's still things worth saving in it. You don't need to run away from it and just abandon it, because there's too much history. There's too much, and like he says, there's one quote in there that he likes. He talks about uh, thinking about oh, there it is. I gave it a pop out there. But I also wonder what they might ask of me when we meet later in heaven. Perhaps what did you do when you were in the pulpit, referring to pastors who have gone before him? And that's a huge thing, even for me, that I can relate to. That is, you get to heaven and you see the saints who have gone before. When they ask you, what did you do? Well, I don't want to look at them and say, well, I ran away when the fight was at hand. I was a coward. And so that's the whole point of that was look, we've got to retake the denomination. This denomination is still worth saving. There's still good things about this denomination is worth saving. There's tons of resources, tons of beautiful churches here, tons of Orthodox pastors here too. We've got to retake it, and it's a stellar article. Definitely one of the best. I think it's the best article in here. Personally, it is a stellar article. I look forward to having him write for us in the future. I mean, this was an incredible article.
Great. Yeah, you make a lot of good points. I just want to clarify, we in the Reconquista use this rhetoric of cowards all the time, about how a lot of conservatives in the modern day are cowards. They oppose liberalism, but they don't want to actually leave their comfort zone and fight against it. But I want to make an important clarification. Not everyone who ever left the main line is a coward, and not everyone who stays in the main line is not a coward. Because even within the denomination. There are conservatives who still are in the PCUSA, but are cowardly in that they will not speak up against liberalism. I've seen that in my own church many times. A lot of people oppose the stuff, but they're just too scared to say anything. The liberals are never scared to say things. And, there is good work being done in the conservative offshoots. I mean, you have the flag of Reformation Bible College behind you, even though I know you are pursuing ordination in the PCUSA. So there is good work being done there. So not everyone who leaves the main line is a coward. Not everyone who stays is not a coward, but we're pushing back against the broader conservative culture of cowardliness. A lot of alliteration there. And that's something that we all need to confront, regardless of where we are. I made a video a couple weeks ago saying the Reconquista mindset can apply to you, even if you're Catholic or Eastern Orthodox or whatever. Conservatives have a general tendency to just retreat and give up and be cowards and not put up a fight and split off and do their own thing rather than trying to take back the old thing. And the denomination is old. So he says in this article, the church goes back to 1706. Like, a lot of people think the PCUSA is new because its current form is 1983. So in its current form, its current brand name is technically even younger than the PCA and the EPC. But that's just because this is a modern merger of a 130-year-long split. If you actually trace the institutions and the presbyteries back to the first presbytery in the U.S., the PCUSA is the rightful heir of that institutionally, maybe not theologically, but institutionally. So the PCUSA is over 300 years old. It was founded in 1706 with the first presbytery in America, and without it, the American Revolution would not have happened. Bruce Score has a big series on how Presbyterian sermons led to the American Revolution. The only pastor to sign the Declaration of Independence was a Presbyterian, John Witherspoon. He was part of the PCUSA. So this is not heritage we can let die, is it?
No, it's not. This heritage, again, is lined with great Bible believing Christians. It goes back generations and generations, and we would make ourselves. It would be foolish for us to not try to win, and I certainly think that we will win. I think it's rather. I think our victory, it could be rather easy to. But I think that there's a lot here that's worth saving, and I think victory can be very clearly clinched within a generation. So, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And now we have a word from David Yancey, who is actually the leader here. I'm not the leader. I'm just the loudest person, but I'm not the leader. So David Yancey is wearing a T-shirt in that photo. That's a photo he took at General Assembly, and he basically led the charge to save all the hundreds of conservative churches in our denomination. Because this past summer, there was an overture that was going to try and ban all conservative pastors, meaning all pastors who would not go along with gay marriage. But he got the overture amended so that it didn't happen. So our organization is less than 1 year old, and already we saved approximately 800 churches from destruction, and that's way more than the entire size of the OPC or ECO or the EPC. So that's quite something, and I can't take credit for it. David Yancey's the hero here, and he has a word for us. So what does he say in this article?
He talks about first of all the organization. It's, you see there, he's it's committed to biblical and fidelity, but he talks about the victory. He talks about the process that it took of getting this thing amended so that these 800 churches, like you said, weren't destroyed. Yeah, he has this quote in here. He says, we had no idea what we were doing. Our board, after all, consisted of 2 broke college students and a young professional.
I'm not a young professional. I'm one of the 2 broke college students.
Well, I'm right in with you, bro. I'd be loving some ramen noodles right now. Anyway, yeah, no, it just goes to show that God can use anybody, and oftentimes He does use the people that the culture least expects to do His work and do His will. And he goes on here and talks about the fight against theological liberalism in the PCUSA and how we were able to get this overture amended. So yes, it's a great statement. It's a rather long statement, but it's a great statement. And yeah, I much applaud him for being able to sit there and write all of that. I can hardly write 2 pages on my book that I'm working on without getting up to go do something because I'm ADHD. But yeah, it's a great message, and it certainly gets me fired up in places reading this. I do believe, isn't he related to John Knox in
Yes,
some way?
he
Yeah,
is
you can
related.
tell. You can tell he gets you fired up. Yeah, he's a really great guy. He's one of the smartest men I have the pleasure of knowing, and so yeah, it's a great message that he wrote there for us.
Great. So he talks about what we did at General Assembly. He talks about what he did, and yeah, updates, the first of many that you'll see. So I'm going to leave a link to our website in the description. Those of you who have subscribed to the website will get these monthly updates, as soon as I figure out how to do that. And I'll see you guys later.